Hey guys, I'm doing a video on Viktor Gyokeres today. Um, everyone's doing a Victor on everyone's doing a Victor, everyone's doing a video on him today, and so I'm totally jumping on the bandwagon. Um, I want Arsenal to win the league, and want him to do well. So I'm not. There might be some bias in my opinion, but we are going to look at the stats, and the stats don't lie, and the stats do tell a certain story. So there was an article that came out in the English media that he's one of the worst strikers in the Premier League. It does depend on what stats you're looking at. And you can probably pull some stats, leave some stats out, cherry pick basically. There's obviously, I would say, a witch hunt. It's a bit strong, but there's a lot of scrutiny on him. Obviously, he was bought to bang goals in. At the end of the day, he bang goals in. Is the best way to shut everybody up. That's just how it is. And looking at some interviews that he's had, he does refer a number of times he just wants to score goals, which typically if you're a striker, you just want to score goals, and so your life goes a lot better when you score goals. Amen to that. And so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Arsenal are, of course, top of the league, top of the Champions League in all competitions still. So those things are all looking good at this stage. So you wouldn't say there's a crisis. Definitely not a crisis. The media can do a lot to try and make some noise. It's kind of their job to an extent, but yeah, they like you when they like you, and when they don't, they don't. But that's how it goes. Comes with the territory. Tra la la la. Don't be surprised about things that you shouldn't be surprised about. So let's get into it. So first stats at Arsenal's Premier League record with and without Victor. Obviously played more games with him than without. We've got a win percentage ratio of 87% with him and a win percentage ratio of 40% without him. So it's 2 times as likely to win a game if he plays. That's just him playing. Goals per game seems to be the same. Again, he hasn't scored 5 goals, so you wouldn't expect there to be a huge difference. If you took Haaland out of Man City, you'd probably see a difference of goals per game, given he scores in a lot of games. But the goals conceded per game, without him 1.2 goals per game, with him 0.5. So again, you don't know if that's correlation or causation. Would have to look into some other factors. Did he play every game? Who's been in? Is there anybody else that's been in that team with him? Chalala, you'd have to dig into it. But on the surface, these surface stats suggest that Arsenal are much better off with him in the team in terms of the win ratio, and obviously that has correlation with goals conceded. If you concede less goals, you got a better chance of winning a game. So let's go. I'm going to some individual stats here. I've compared his stats with Haaland. He is top goal scorer in the Premier League. He's a goal machine, as we know. So let's look at some of these stats. So Haaland scored 20 goals this season. It's Premier League. Pretty much a goal a game, so 99.99. So pretty much a goal a game. 91 minutes per goal, basically. Victor has 5 goals, so 0.35 goals per game, and 259 minutes per goal. So big difference there, huge difference. Let's look at the shots, because what comes before a goal is a shot. So let's look at that. Haaland, 83 shots so far. Victor's had 31, so nearly 3 times as many shots. Haaland has just over 4 shots a game. Victor has just over 2.15 shots a game. So that's a clear difference. Haaland has more shots, significantly more shots. Haaland has a shot accuracy, which is shot on target, of 49.4, so pretty much 50%. So 41 of his 83 shots are on target. Victor's shot accuracy is 35.5%. So of his 31 shots, he's only had 11 shots on target. so 20 shots off target. So 64.5% of his shots off target, and he's having almost basically half as many shots, if you want to round it down, half as many shots as Haaland is per game, and his shot accuracy is about a third, whereas Haaland's is 50%. And so when you look at that with the number of goals, you've got Haaland has got 4 shots per goal. So 4 shots for every goal scored, and Viktor has 6 shots for every goal scored. Now he's got to have 6 shots for every goal, again because of his goal accuracy and his shot accuracy and his shot conversion ratios. How many shots to goals? 6.2 shots to get a goal, and he's having way less shots. And so given his shot accuracy, he'll need to ramp up his shots considerably to get more goals. But one thing he can also do is improve his shot accuracy. So for example, if he increased his shot accuracy to Haaland's shot accuracy, if he increased his shot accuracy, he'd get more goals just from the number of shots that he's got. So he's had 31 shots. Now in theory, if you had a 100% ratio, you got 31 goals there. And so one thing you can do is always work on your efficiencies and your accuracy, as well as ramping up the volume. You want to try and find that balance where he's got, find that balance. All of his shots, what I can see, all of his shots are inside the box. So it's not like he's just basically just shooting from nowhere. You're going to get away with that these days, unless they're going in. Obviously, the coach Arteta's going to say, "Hang on a minute, mate, we're not at that. We're in this different phase. This is what we want you to do." Having said that, I looked at all his goals, some of his Coventry goals, and all of his goals in Portugal. He likes to drive inside the box, and so he likes to shoot from inside the box, closer to goal. Makes sense. And he is pretty deadly from there when he's at his best. And so, Haaland's having way more shots. His shot accuracy is higher. So Haaland's having way more shots, and his shot accuracy is higher. And the percentage of shots that are on target, he's got a higher conversion ratio. So he's got more shots, more accuracy, and more conversion. Whereas Viktor is, again, all of those stats are down. So that's reflected in the number of goals. We've got 20 goals for Haaland and 5 so far for Viktor. So I would say for Viktor, main things to work on are basically shots. So work on your shot accuracy. I want to see a video breakdown of all of my shots. I want to watch all the shots, especially the ones that, all of them, because the ones that have been saved, the ones that have gone in, the ones that haven't gone in, and then look at how you can increase, get your shot accuracy higher, because you can still say if he was really super deadly with his shots, then he's got enough shots there to be on a good number of goals. So, that's something you work on already, because those stats are there. He gets just over 2 shots a game, and so he's got a 50% shot conversion ratio, which is pretty high, but he's inside the box. Keep working on that. He's still looking at a goal a game. That's not increasing the number of shots. Obviously, to increase the number of shots, you've got to look at, okay, if he wants to increase the number of shots, how many times he's getting the ball, how many times is the ball coming to him, in what area. So I don't know what this looks like, but if he's got a high, I haven't gone into the data on this, can't find it, but if he has a high, let's say, shot to chance ratio, so when he's in a pretty decent position to have a shot, he has a shot, then it's a case of working on the accuracy. If his accuracy goes up, he's more likely, again, I'm not saying the team aren't passing to him. I'm not getting into, don't know the people's psyche around that at the moment within the team. But obviously, if his accuracies are higher, in the Man City team, you're going to want to find Haaland, aren't you? And so I don't know where that's at in the Arsenal team in terms of who they're playing the balls to for shots like that. But Viktor is the top goal scorer for Arsenal at the moment. Again, got 5 goals, but he's still, you can still say I'm the highest goal scorer. Yes, 2 penalties, but most strikers want to take the penalties and they count them. So I won't focus too much on that. All right, some other stats. Again, I've seen some of the video commentary at the moment talking about he's not making enough runs and he's not gambling enough and stuff like that. Everyone's got their opinion. I haven't looked into that too much, but looking at the actual stats here, Victor's had 86 off-ball runs. That's defined as a high-intensity movement by a player not in possession of the ball, lasting at least 2 seconds. So this is to do with his so 86 off-ball runs. He's second behind Cody Gakpo, who's averaging more. So he averages 6.3 high intensity off ball runs. He's fifth for runs in behind opposition back line. So again, all those stats that stats that come out recently about where he was, he's ranking high in other stats, right? In terms of winning the ball back, responsible for more pressure when a player team is out of possession. He's highest of all the Arsenal teammates. Again, he's on the front line, so that's fine. But he's extremely high on that, and so that might be a factor in terms of the win ratio with him in the team. So definitely makes a clear difference to the team. If you look at some of what the players are saying, get yes, they're in the public eye, but Declan Rice did give an actual breakdown. He didn't just say, "Oh yeah, he's great." He gave a breakdown of the number of defenders he's occupying, stuff like that, and the chances that are created by Victor still doing what he's doing. Again, the top of the league. It's up to the manager to decide who's adding value to the team and in what capacity. At the same time, he wants to score goals, and everybody wants to see him scoring goals. So if I was Victor, what I'd also do is, if I was there, I would also what I've already done with him is a Dr. Martin Seligman learned optimism test where you can see what Victor's explanatory style is. So by the time we're adults, we all have an explanatory style of how we explain what we perceive to be good or bad news to ourselves. And that's across 3 areas, which is how personal it is, how pervasive it is, and how permanent it is. And so in a moment like this, you don't know how, you've got to get to know the guy, the man, how he thinks. And what his default explanatory style is. And so if his default is in some way pessimistic, I'd be working with him about his thoughts. I'd be doing some cognitive behavioural work with him just around his thoughts and what's going on inside his brain, because we all have a default and we can change that once we become aware of it. So I'll be also looking at that with him. That's something which I think is super important with players. Is what they're thinking, what you're thinking between your ears, what you're believing. That affects what you do, and what you do affects your results. And so I'll be looking at that in a number of areas, but the stats are very important here. So I would be looking at what you can improve, That's a very positive discussion. This is what you can improve on. Great, that's something in your control, and just keep doing the fundamentals. And also, as always, just be super encouraging and constantly reminding him and the other players of all the good news that's currently going on within the squad. But yeah, some interesting stats there. Basically, get a real breakdown of his shots. Interestingly, just as a last point, I watched an interview with Owen Hargreaves and Jurrien Timber, and Hargreaves, if you Google it, they're standing by the screen. Moreno also is in that interview separately, and they showed Timber the areas in which his stats had improved across 2 seasons, and he had no idea about that. I found that quite interesting because I thought, well, why doesn't Arsenal Football Club have that data, and why haven't they got that data, and why haven't they fed it into him? Because he had no idea of that. It was super encouraging. Now he was just saying, "Oh, I'm just trying to get better in all areas," but the stats, the data is very important. And you can also get data from people. So, for example, you could say to Victor, "How optimistic are you feeling about getting more than 20 goals this season out of 10?" Because that's going to give you a number, and that number underneath that, he could say, "Oh yeah," but when you're asked to give a number, you find out where they're at. And so if he's like 4, if he's a bit low, then we go, okay, well, we need to do something about that. So you, you get my point. So there can be stats around your actions, but you can easily get stats around what people are thinking and where they're at. So yeah, there's some things that I would do. But I like Victor. I think he's that wouldn't focus too much on his touch, and look at his videos. He's not a battering ram. He's just he's very direct. He's very forceful, very strong. And he likes to shoot. He likes to score goals. So don't try and become not trying to become some silky Hadji. Do you know what I mean? Just do what you've done. Do what you've done. And so he's still having loads of shots inside the box. That's what he was doing. That's what he was doing in Portugal. So I would just keep working on the things that you can control and keep working on what works well. But definitely look at more shots per game. Let's have a look again. No, so he's got two shots per game. Haaland has 4. So yeah, if you focus on getting extra shots, so just even you go right, 3 shots a game, that's going to make a massive difference. And if you start tuning on the accuracy as well, that's where I think you'll see a huge difference. Aim for 3 shots a game, at least. Aim for 6. Aim for 6. But if you're looking at 3 shots per game inside the box, and you've been doing some work on your shot accuracy, then those numbers are going to shift.